Hello dolphins and penguins and seahorses. It's nice to be able to talk to you even though I can't see you. I thought before I started some maths I'd introduce you to Sparky. This is Sparky and he's 14 now, so that's more than twice as old as most of you. If you're 5 or 6, Sparky is more than double your age. Double 6 is 12, and Sparky's 14, so he's quite an old cat, but he's not as clever as you. You're not very clever, are you, Sparky? But you are very friendly. So I'll put him down now, and if I can find him at the end, I'll bring him on the camera again at the end. I hope you enjoy this maths. So today's little maths lesson is about learning to tell the time. We're going to start to learn to tell the time using an analogue clock. There is a picture of an analogue clock. Can you say analogue? Analogue. You can see that the analogue clock has numbers all the way around the edge, and then it has some pointing sticks called hands. On this clock, one of the hands is pointing to the number 2 and the other hand is pointing to the number 10. Here's another analogue clock. An analogue clock is a bit like a number line, but the numbers don't go across, they go round in a circle. Let's say the numbers together, starting here with the number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Here's another analogue clock. The blue hand is the long minute hand, and the red hand is the short hour hand. This little girl is just going out of her house. She's going to go to school. She's got her school bag. You can see an analogue clock behind her in the house. The long minute hand is pointing straight up to the 12, and the short hour hand is pointing to the 8. I wonder if you know what time it is. That's right, it's 8 o'clock. Here's some vocabulary, some words about telling the time. You could say them after me. Analogue, clock, hour, minute hand, hour hand. Remember, the minute hand is the long hand and the hour hand is the short hand. The red minute hand is pointing at the 12. That means it's something o'clock. The short hour hand is pointing at the 8. So this clock says, that's right, it's 8 o'clock. Here are some more analogue clocks showing some different times. On the first clock, the long hand and the short hand are both pointing at the 12. So the time on this clock is 12 o'clock. On the next clock, the long minute hand is pointing at the 12. So that means it's something o'clock. But the short hour hand is pointing at the 1 this time. What time do you think it is now? That's right, it's 1 o'clock. On the next clock, The long minute hand is still pointing at the 12. So that means it must be something o'clock. But this time the short hour hand is pointing at the 2. So the time on this clock is, that's right, 2 o'clock. On this clock, the long minute hand is pointing at the 12 and the short hour hand is pointing at the 3. I know it must be something o'clock because the long hand is pointing at the 12. What time do you think it is? Well done, it's 3 o'clock. Here are some more analogue clocks. On the first clock, the long hand is pointing to the 12, so it's something o'clock. Look where the short hand is pointing. What o'clock do you think it is this time? Well done, it's 4 o'clock. On the next clock, the long minute hand is still pointing at the 12, so it's still something o'clock. What o'clock do you think it is this time? Well done, it's 5 o'clock. On the next clock, the long minute hand is pointing at the 12 and the short hour hand is pointing at the 6. What time do you think it is now? Well done, it's 6 o'clock. I know it's 6 o'clock because the long hand is pointing to the 12. That means it's something o'clock. And the short hand is pointing to the 6. What time do you think it is on this clock? That's right, it is 7 o'clock. Well done. Now have a go at these clocks by yourself. This clock says 8 o'clock. This analogue clock says 9 o'clock. This clock says 10 o'clock. And this clock says 11 o'clock. Here are some children doing some different things in their day. The first person is stretching as they wake up in the morning. You can see the clock on their bedroom wall. It is 8 o'clock in the morning. The long hand is on the 12, so that means it's something o'clock, and the short hand is on the 8. It is 8 o'clock. Those children are playing on the beach. Look at the clock on their picture. The long minute hand is on the 12 and the short hour hand is on the 11. What time is it? Well done, it is 11 o'clock in the morning. I know it's in the morning because I think if it was 11 o'clock at night, it would be dark and I would be asleep. In this picture, somebody's having their lunch. Look at the clock on the wall behind him. What time is it? Well done, it's 2 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. If it was 2 o'clock in the morning, he would be asleep in bed, and so would I. This person's going for a walk. What time is it? Well done, it's 5 o'clock. The long hand is pointing to the 12, so we know it's something o'clock, and the short hand is pointing to the 5, so I know it's 5 o'clock. This is Emma. and this is Ravi. They've just gone to bed. Look at the time on Emma's clock. What time has Emma gone to bed? Well done, she's gone to bed at 9 o'clock. Now look at the time on Ravi's clock. This time the long hand isn't pointing to the 12 anymore. It's pointing to the 6. It's gone halfway on its journey around the clock. And the short hour hand has moved as well. It's not pointing at the 9 anymore. It's between the 9 and the 10. Emma went to bed at 9 o'clock. Ravi has gone to bed at 9:30. Let's look at those clocks more closely. This is Emma's clock. The long minute hand is pointing to the 12, so we know it's something o'clock. The short hour hand is pointing to the 9. Emma goes to bed at 9 o'clock. Here's Ravi's clock. This time the long minute hand is not pointing at the 12 anymore. It has gone halfway on its journey round the clock. You can see somebody has coloured half the clock in orange for us. When the long hand is pointing at the 6 like that, we know it is half past something. I know it's 9:30 because if I look at the short hour hand, it has gone past the 9. It's on its way to the 10. 9:30. Here are some more half-past times. The long minute hand is pointing to the 6, so I know it's 9:30 something. The short hour hand has gone past the 12. It's on its way to the 1. It's 12:30. On the next clock, the long minute hand is pointing at the 6 again, so I know it's 9:30 something. This time the short hour hand has gone past the 1. It's on its way to the 2. It is 1:30 because the short hour hand has gone past the 1. It's not 2:30 because that short hour hand has not even got to the 2 yet, and it certainly hasn't gone past it. On this clock, the long minute hand is pointing at the 6 again, so I know it's 9:30 something. The short hour hand has gone past the 2. It's on its way to the 3. So the time is 2:30. It can't be 3:30 because the short hour hand hasn't even got to the 3. It certainly hasn't gone past it. On the last clock, the long minute hand is pointing to the 6, so I know it's 3:30 something. This time it is 3:30. Look, the short hour hand has gone past the 3. It's on its way to the 4. You're listening really well. This is the last one. On this clock, the long minute hand is pointing at the 6, so I know it's 3:30 something. What do you think the time is? 3:30 what? 3:30. Well done, it's 4:30. If you said 5:30 by mistake, look carefully because the little hour hand has not gone past the 5 yet. What time do you think it is on this clock? It is 5:30. Well done, it is 5:30 This time the short hour hand has gone past the 5. It's nearly at the 6. What time do you think it is on this clock? I know it's half past something because the long minute hand is pointing at the 6. It's gone halfway on its journey round the clock from the 12. Well done, it is half past 6. This time the short hour hand has gone past the 6. It's on its way to the 7. And the last one. What time is it? Well done, it is half past 7. You've listened really well. Well done, dolphins and seahorses and penguins. Give yourselves a fantastic. Fantastic! Well, Sparky was sunbathing in the garden, but I've asked him to come in just for this bit. Oh, you're looking at the camera now, aren't you, Sparky? Thank you for listening to the maths video. If you go on Purple Mash, then you'll see some to-dos that are to do with time, o'clock and half past. It would be good if you had a go at those. And if you'd like to write on the class blogs as well, we'd love to hear what you've been up to. Bye everyone. See you soon.